Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John, and I just spilled all of my paperwork and bills on the floor.
Oh, all right, John. I'm Richard, and mine happened to still be on my table, so I'm good.
Well, hey, we've got lots of show for you today, including picking up bills off of the floor, underrated books of the week. We've got your viewer mail, your comments, your suggestions, your questions, and we also have the old fart rule where we go back to 1984. God, Richard, 40 years.
Yes, I said on one of our members only streams, I'm turning 60 this year. 60.
Why would you tell people that? You don't look 60. You need to
I,
play it off. Just play it off.
it's a number, right? It's just a number. I don't need to be that concerned about it.
I feel you because I'm nervous about turning 40 soon. So,
Oh, I know, John.
hey, hot book of the week is here. Richard, I picked it for you.
Yes, you did.
It is Fantastic Four, number 57, gaining some heat because, well, it's an iconic Jack Kirby cover.
Yep.
Got everybody's favorite metal-faced villain. I'm not counting Tony Stark here, even though he is a villain. The number of copies sold last week has more than doubled. Huge increases on Fantastic Four 57 in the last week. A nice CGC 8.5 copy will run you about $500, Richard. That's the most recent sale from last month in that grade. Did you know there's a CGC 9.8 out there?
I would love a 9.8, but not at 250 that it went for back in December of 22.
$1,050.
A lot of money for a funny book.
Do you have an FF57?
I have at least two, if not more than that.
Okay.
This is one of those books that when I'm rifling through the 50 buck bin or 25 buck bin, whatever happens to be, the near keys, let's call it. If I see it, I'll buy it. A number of Fantastic Four issues from around this era are the same thing. There's just such amazing covers that Jack put together for that featured Doctor Doom in this particular era. They're just stunning. Just the colors on them are so unique and vibrant. I just love them. I buy them all the time. This one especially is interesting because in this particular issue, Doom steals Silver Surfer's power. So you get to see Doom being Doom and having grand plans and just going crazy nuts as Doom does. One of my favorite books and just one of my favorite Doom covers of all time.
Stan and Jack at the height of their powers. Stan Goldberg, colorist on the cover. I mean, the dark purples and the green, that emerald green. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And the inks they used back then, if you get a good copy that has like lots of saturation on the cover, it's one to really slab and display.
And I have to say, this is one of those books that if you don't get a perfect cover or a copy of it, the patina that it develops because of those rich colors make it look like a classic piece of art. It's just an amazing book in general.
Bronze and Modern Gods drinking game. Anyone who had patina, take a shot.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I said patina.
I'm sure we'll get Hercules and Quasar. That's on your card too. So make sure you pay attention the rest of the show and keep your liquor bottle handy as we announce the winner of our first contest. Our friends at Dynamite Comics were running a Kickstarter for Deluxe Darkwing Duck graphic novel collections. And to celebrate, they let us give away a copy of Darkwing Duck #1 facsimile edition, the limited gold foil edition. And our winner is, Richard, drumroll. Can you do a drumroll? Okay, you can't. Our winner is subscriber Louise Corona. Louise, check your DMs on Instagram. I DM'd you earlier. So answer that. Let's get your contact info and get this shipped out to you. Congratulations on winning that. And congratulations to Dynamite for hitting that Kickstarter goal and then some. Talk about smashing.
Yeah, amazing. Great way to. It's a great way to get notoriety for the comic, and first of all, it's free advertisement and to raise the funds to be able to publish it, so everybody wins.
Yes, and including you, dear viewer and or listener, as we go to the show and tell screen. Ooh, you can't lose. All right. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, During the edit there, I was singing Syphil and Ollie "Fake Blood" to Richard. And he
It's we
Syphil and
things
Ollie.
get yeah. We were starting with Axl Rose, and it led to
Who out there remembers Syphil and Ollie besides me? Someone there. Um, Richard, you showed some books last week from someone who reached out to us and wanted to give us an A-OK. We don't encourage it. You guys keep doing it anyway. um, I'm not going to say his name, except that he shares the surname for a famous president that helped end the Civil War. Wink, wink. Um, and I've got some to show that he sent me. This guy knows us. The books he sent you were perfect. The books he sent me were perfect. Who else is going to appreciate Condor Man from Disney, issues 1, 2, and 3 in a multi-pack? There goes Condor
Oh
Man.
my goodness, why does that strike? Why does that sound familiar?
It was a really horrible live action Disney movie from the late 70s that I'm sure
Okay.
you and I both saw. It was just awful. But the comics are amazing. Is this Dan Spiegel? I think it's Dan Spiegel inside. Condor Man 1 through 3. I think these were only sold in multi-packs. So if you got one, you got 2 and 3 along with it. Let's look together, shall we, at Condor Man number 1. It is not Dan Spiegel. I'm shocked. I thought for sure Mr. Dan Spiegel, maybe John Serta. It kind of looks I'm not sharing it with you guys. I'm just going to look at it myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of looks like the Dark Shadows comics.
Mhm.
That same kind of layout from good old Dell and Gold Key, or in this case, Whitman at this point. Thank you, mysterious benefactor, for my first show and tell. I've got more from you coming up. What's your first show and tell book?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna round out the things that he sent me um, with some of the magazines he sent. He sent comic scenes.
Oh, how come he sent those to you? No fair.
These are great books, and here's another one with the features Conan the Barbarian. Um, Great, this is back in the era when they actually printed these things called magazines that were on a particular topic. So, they're think of them as basically websites you could carry around.
Do you know I used to buy that off the stands at Walden Books at Midway Mall?
Hmm
Oh
I,
my.
I have, there's a number of different magazines like this, and we were ravenous back then because there was no alternative source for information. It was magazines that you went to. There was no internet. So you sat there and you waited for the new issue of Comic Scene or Wizard Magazine or whatever your particular um, favorite magazine was. And then you poured over it. You read it, and then you read it again, and then you read it again, because that was what you had. Now I think magazines have lost their luster because our information now is so readily available and so instantaneously updated. It's just not practical to print a printed magazine.
I think magazines will come back as a boutique item. I do. I mean, like the New Cream magazine is a good example. You can't buy it on newsstands, and it's super deluxe and oversized and kind of almost like a quarterly coffee table book that gets sent to your
Mhm.
house. If there was, like, I don't know if a comic related magazine like that would survive, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. You're right, because there are those types of boutique magazines. I'm a big car guy, and there are a number of Porsche magazines that come out. They're high quality, low print, um, coffee table
Expensive.
kind of expensive, right? And they're there for an audience that wants them, and they cost enough to justify the price to actually print them. So, and that genre, I think they do will continue to exist.
We'll see. My next show and tell, also from our mysterious benefactor. Got your tequila shot ready? It is Hercules number 8. Take a shot in the Bronze of Modern Gods drinking game. This is the Charlton Hercules from the 60s by Sam
Mhm.
Glanzman. Very mythologically correct Hercules title, you know, except he's wearing clothes.
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, I know. If you're going to go for the completely mythologically correct Hercules, he's got to be running around buck naked. But here he is. on a giant boar. So
Yeah,
there you
that sounds like Greek
yeah.
mythology.
He's gonna ride a boar through Greece. That sounds like a euphemism for something. Okay, what is your next viewer mail?
My
No,
next one,
not your viewer mail. It's show and tell.
show and tell.
Go on,
Next
John.
one is an example of why I stopped buying variant covers. Okay, these are all three are taped together. So, can I separate them?
Fun.
All right. All
Don't
right.
ruin the books just for the show.
All right. So this is a Miles Morales book. This is Miles Morales number 25, issue number 25. We all recognize, if for those who are listening as opposed to watching, this is yet another variant of the Ultimate Fallout 4 cover. Yet another variant. It's they overplay this whole homage thing to the point of nausea. So there's one. Okay, so you have to buy the one. Well,
Was this an store exclusive?
this is yes, it was. I bought this off of one of my online websites. I can't
Mhm.
remember where it's Stadium Comics or Stadium Comics is a great place to buy comics. I can't remember exactly where I bought it. Well, so here's another trade dress. This is how this says. Miles Morales, Spider Man, different trade dress on it, Clone Saga, blah blah blah. It's the exact same comic. The exact. There's nothing different about this comic other than the cover. But if you really want to have everything, you have to buy the third copy of the same thing without the trade dress. You get the Virgin variant. It just feels like forced or contrived scarcity. We're going to make this book, which this is a 1 in 25 or whatever the number you have to buy to be able to get a copy of this. It's not something that has rarity to its own. Its rarity is defined and forced upon us by the printer, the manufacturer. So
Can I
I
can I can I beat all of our commenters before they come to the punch? Why'd you buy him then?
no, I totally get that. I totally get that. But you know what? I don't buy these anymore.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
true.
not. I have stopped completely because it felt like, oh, I like that cover, but if I want it, then I need to either pay an arm and a leg for a 1 in 25, 1 in 50 variant, a Virgin variant, because this is the one that people really want.
Yeah.
They don't want the trade dress ones because the Virgin variant is the money shot. Do I want to pay for that? And um, it just feels contrived, and I've stopped the whole variant treadmill that I was on for a while because I would buy everything. A comic would come out and I buy all the variants. And now that comics are $6 a piece, it's this just not sustainable.
It's still happening. I mean, even this week, one of the hottest comics out there, according to some people, is that Moon Knight Zero. That was a one per store
Mhm.
variant. It's like, oh, geez, we're just never going to get rid of this stuff.
Again, it's rarity that is preordained. Let's say there will only be one per store.
Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just let me pile on to the Bronze and Modern Gods are hypocrites train.
That's a very long trade.
I know. At least we admit it. The Before I show this, here's why I sent it, everybody. Sending a CGC submission for my LCS, as I always do. And I thought, since I'm sending this stuff in, I might as well throw some of my stuff in and piggyback on it, stuff that I'm going to flip. But then I was sending a magazine for this person. And I thought, okay, if I'm sending a magazine submission, I got to package it differently. And
Mhm.
that's why I hate sending magazines in, because you have to package it in a
Yeah.
different way so it doesn't get bent. I'll throw in a magazine of my own to get slapped. So that's why I sent this in to get slapped. And trust me, I'm already regretting it, as Richard already knows. Love and Rockets 24. By the way, take a shot. Love and Rockets. Bronze and Modern Gods drinking game. It looks beautiful, right? Do you see all the scuffing here? Those are
Wow.
all scuffs
Yeah.
on it. Looks like a little giant tiny rat
Mhm.
walked across the case. through here, down here. Those are all scuffs that are on the case. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know what caused this, why they would send this to a customer.
You would think QA would have caught that.
Please stop. The fact that it was in QC for a week and a half, they should have caught it.
Mhm.
But the back is okay. The back's fine. It's just the front. It literally looks like there's a little rat that has little, sorry, Claire, little rat prints walking all over the book. So I can't display this now. Do I send it back? Mechanical error? Sure. I'd love to send it back mechanical error. They still have my ASM 301 with the micro chamber slipped out for mechanical error that I sent in a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
No movement on that. So I sent it in. You guys slam me in the comments all you want. I deserve it.
What do you agree with the grade?
Yes. I do. Actually, I thought it was an 8.5. So I'm happy, or it just reemphasizes what we keep saying is grading is so loose right now that it's a great time if you want to sell. I almost said the S word. If you want to sell stuff, that's an S word. And you want to flip, send it in. You're going to get a 9698 for anything apparently these days. So do it. So frustrating. What's your next show and tell?
Let's see. What do I want to pick? Okay, here is the very last book that I'm going to show that the gentleman sent me. This is all in the same genre as TMNT. This is Aristocratic Extraterrestrial Time Traveling Thieves.
That was a book that got unfairly penalized for its title because the title is so crass and such a way to exploit the turtles phenomenon, but the book itself supposedly is really well drawn and really well written that it didn't deserve that kind of treatment.
Yeah, I have not read it yet, but it does seem to be you're beating that horse. Poor dead horse.
Very cynical, isn't it?
It is, and I wonder if it's a different thought process of the people who wrote the comic and the people who named it, and if so, that's too bad because you really shouldn't be penalized because you pick a terrible name.
Hey, Lockheed cameo.
Is it?
Top right.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
it's not Lockheed. Just looks. All right. Thanks for our benefactor for those books. He did not send me that Love and Rockets. That one is one I got at California Comic Con with a stack of 4 of them from the same dealer.
Yes. Oh, John, you.
Hey, you want to find more fun like this during the week? Why not support the show? Become a member right here on YouTube. It's $2.99 a month. You get those exclusive live member only streams on Thursdays. You get extra show and tell episodes on Wednesdays. You get shout outs. New members, look at the new members this week. We've got several. And Richard and I will go to shows and get content. San Diego Comic Con. Richard and I will each be streaming live from San Diego on the floor for members only. Oh, you got your gimbal.
I got my gimbal. Yeah, so
it's easy to use. So just you go through the online tutorial for me.
Okay, I will.
And Richard and I will take turns live streaming right here for members only from San Diego Comic Con. So if you want to see that, make sure you join before then. How do you join, you say? Well, you scrape together some couch cushion money. Then you go over here on YouTube and you hit the join button right next to the subscribe button below here. And if you're on the podcast and you want to support us, just send us unmarked hundreds to our PO.
All right, Soupy Sales.
Go to your mom's purse. Pretty green paper.
Oh boy, that was an old reference.
Yes. Well, we have an old audience. They'll get it. They often do, and they tell us so in a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
Our first piece of viewer mail is a long one from our friend Mark Robinson. Mark, I edited it down as much as I could so we can feature it on the show. My fellow veteran, Mark Robinson, my fellow Army veteran. Hoorah. Mark writes, I stopped collecting in April of 92. That's when I joined the Army. I never had enough space in my barracks room, so I didn't entertain the thought of collecting again. John here It did not stop me whatsoever. Uh, Fast forward 30 plus years, and I start collecting again around 2021. I'm watching all these channels on YouTube telling me how valuable my old collection is. I'm very excited because most of my collection was purchased at cover price and it's safe in my old room. This past May, I went home to take care of my father for a few weeks. Week two, I finally start to go through my old collection. I start with the comics in my desk and I immediately notice some are missing. I was in shock. The next week, I went through the comics in my closet. That's where the really valuable issues were. Some thief had cherry picked through my collection. I became nauseous. I stopped looking through my comics when I saw that my original Turtles 2 and 3 were also taken. I couldn't deal with it anymore. It was tainted now. I packed my comics into long boxes, bagged and boarded about half of my loose comics, but I honestly couldn't stand to look at them. When it was time for me to go home, I rented a vehicle and I loaded my crap into it. Before I left my parents' home, my mother grabbed this old drawing of the Incredible Hulk. I had this on the dresser in my room for decades. I loved it. What I didn't realize was this image. I actually own an original George Perez drawing. How cool is that?
Awesome.
Around 83, a coworker of my mother went up to her at work and said, "Your kid likes comics, right? Here, give him this." Wow. Although a lot of valuable comics were taken and some not so valuable, I still have some decently valuable comics in my original collection. Over the next 2.5 weeks, I cataloged, organized, and rebagged and boarded most of the collection, which pained me because it only made me more aware of what was stolen from me and the dollar amount. For example, I had a Bone number one. A few
Mm.
weeks ago, I saw a report where a 9.8 of that very issue sold for 10K. I got sick all over again. The next day, I came across my Marvel Tales featuring Spider Man 150, and I reread it. It brought back these old feelings, and I was reminded why I started collecting. Thanks for indulging me, and thanks for the entertainment and information you guys provided over the last 3 years. Mark, thank you. Thanks for writing in. Thanks for not letting this bad experience
Yeah.
soil your love of the hobby. I'm glad you reconnected with that childhood book you had saved all those years and you remember why you collect. I feel bad getting your book stolen from inside the house. Is that's I don't know. I hope you find out who did it. That's awful, Richard.
Yeah, it happened to me too. I had my main collection was hiding up in my mother's attic for decades, but I had pulled, a lot of the valuable books and put them in a long box, and I had kept that long box with me when I moved to another house and lived in that house, and then I left that house and moved in with my future wife, and then went back. It had to be at least 10 years later to that house that I had that long box stored in, and someone had broken into the house and had
Ugh.
stolen all those books. My Thor 337 that I bought off the newsstand, that I loved, was gone, and a lot of other books. Now, I'm not talking about $10,000 books, but these are all books from when I was growing up, and so it hurt. But you can't let in single incidents like that affect a lifelong hobby of collecting and loving comics. You have to move past those kinds of things, and I know it's tempting to compare every single book that lost to the 9.8 values that are out there, but more than likely the books that you lost weren't 9.8s. So that's not a good way to judge the value of what was missing. And frankly, there's no sense in doing that in the first place because they're just not going to be there anymore. But I
What
feel
hurt?
for you.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I feel for you, and I hope and I'm glad that you're able to move past it.
So what hurts worse, having books stolen or having your mom sell them and your entire 80s vinyl collection at a garage sale for 50 cents
You
each?
have to keep loving your mom, right?
Do you?
You got to. Yeah, you got to.
Don't want to say that it happened to me, but happened to me. Okay, your next piece of viewer mail, please, before I get bitter.
I can't even imagine. My next piece is from Paper Abyss Comics, uh, and talking about the UF4 variant, the 1 in 25 variant. UF4 variant should be around 4K for a 9.8, severely overpriced book. And the market is proving you correct, Paper Abyss. It is correcting the price of that book. At one point, this book was a $50,000 book.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness, yes. And we were, I was comparing it to Amazing Fantasy 15.
We had an episode.
Yes, we did. I have my mouth full of crow.
What did you say? I don't remember.
Oh,
Before,
we were comparing a 1.0 AF-15 to a 9.8 UF4, and over time, which one was going to be more valuable?
or was it which would you rather buy with the money? I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
at the time, I was going with I had had a UF4 9.8. So, but I thought the value of that book was going to continue to be in that kind of range, that strata. But we've seen a strong market correction in everything modern
Yeah.
over the past 24 months, and I'm not sure we're done with that correction yet. So we'll see where UF4 actually bottoms out, but definitely is less than the $50,000 peak that it reached.
Do me a favor, say Djurjevic variant.
Djurjevic.
Djurjevic variant.
Djurjevic variant.
Everybody drink. Bronze and Modern Gods drinking game. All right.
Miles Morales. Miles Morales.
Oh man, you guys are getting really sloshed. My next piece of viewer mail comes to our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from our friend Ron Cooper, who writes, "Hey John and Richard, love the show. I've been watching it for about 18 months or so. I know the two of you are coming out to San Diego Comic-Con in a couple of weeks. What's your thoughts of having a little meetup somewhere outside the con so we can all say hello and chat comics? I figured you will have a lot of followers in the San Diego area for the show, as well as local fans like myself who are not going to the show. Just a thought. Keep up the great work. Ron Cooper." Ron, you and Ariel both wrote in this week asking the same question if we're going to have a meetup in San Diego. No, we don't want to see it of you. Gross. Oh, yes, of course. Yes. I kid because I think that's a great idea. I'd love to do it. I just got to figure out where.
Right.
Ron, you and our friend Ian Hoodrat down there, you're the locals. I used to live down there, but it's been over 2 decades since I lived down there. Where should we meet? What's convenient? What's good? Where could we be?
And I'd love to get a head count too. So if we can get some kind of idea of how many people are going to show up, because I want to warn wherever we're going
Yeah.
if there's going to be a bunch of us or just 2 or 3.
But we're down for it. We're staying, Richard and I are both staying Bayfront, near the airport, as opposed to downtown this time. Good news is we got lucky. We got hotels. Bad news is it's about 1.25 miles away from the convention center. So we'll be shuttling it back and forth. But I love the idea. Any suggestions where we can meet? Would love to hear them. Let us know in the comments. DM us if you like. I will do some research over the next 2 weeks myself, and we will let you guys know in the next week or so, or maybe a little later, since I just said 2 weeks. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
And you guys can all get drunk with the Bronze and Modern Gods drinking game. Richard, your next piece of viewer mail. Get your shot glasses ready, everybody.
Our next piece is from a friend of the show, Julius Maloney. I'm going back to John. I'm going to back up John and Richard here. It's because of the show. I finally dipped my toe into Love and Rockets.
Drink.
Yes, I was hooked immediately. So completely disagree that it's not a good place to start reading indie comics. I had no reference for what I was getting into other than the bits and pieces shared on the show, and I found a great leaping off point. I found it a great leaping off point. Cheers, guys, for getting me going. Yeah, great, Julius. I'm glad you enjoy the book. To me, it's one of those. It starts off whimsical fantasy, sci-fi kind of angle, but it quickly drops that to just be a story about 2 girls, and Maggie and Hopi, and their lives in Southern California, or yeah, it is Southern California, isn't it? Is that
It is SoCal. It is
SoCal?
Hoppers.
Hoppers, right? And they're growing up. There is still a little whimsy and mysticism in it, and that gives it just that edge. And then there's the backup story by Gilbert that is very, it's a It's a more gritty, more earthy story, and it's very poignant at times, and just filled with sadness, and it's an interesting story. They're both very strong human interest storylines, and they go on forever. But it's like your favorite soap opera. You just can't stop reading it. So
No.
to get an opportunity, please give it a try. I think you would enjoy it. Unless you only like superheroes, which there are people out there who like that. But if you like human stories and stories that are full of love and hate and all the human emotions that you deal with, and you get to see these two girls' lives as they grow up, it's fascinating.
Who's your Love and Rockets crush?
Hopi.
Hopi. I knew you
Yeah,
were going to say Hopi. Is it because she's unattainable or because she's spunky and cute?
probably a little of both.
Okay. Speedy Ortiz for the win. Thank you.
Uh,
Ford,
all right.
Doom, bad boy, Speedy Ortiz. All right. Well, Love and Rockets, it celebrated 50 years this year. Was it? No, that was not 50 years this year. Love and Rockets started in, gosh,
I thought it was
82, 81.
82. Yeah, someplace around
Yeah,
there.
okay. So it's not quite. Why am I thinking 50 years? Because of that giant book they put out, that
Mm.
giant collection, maybe. I don't know. This was all going to be a super clumsy segue into the old fart rule. The old fart rule, where we go back to 1984. Love and Rockets is already a critical hit at this point in
Mhm.
comics history. And we go and look at the books that shaped our collections or things that we overlooked at the time, including this one, the Best of DC Comics number 45 digest, Binky and his buddies. Richard, this is not Archie.
No,
Don't you dare accuse them.
I will bite my tongue.
Okay. Look at this prime 1984 cover. Okay. You've got feathered hair on the blonde. I mean, perfect. You've got the Biz Biz Zap Zap video arcades are hot now, Richard. Are you playing that Galaga game?
Yeah.
Are you playing Rastin? I loved Rastin. That was the one with the barbarian, right? That was a Conan game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. What was your favorite? What were your favorites? I love Tempest. I was a Tempest guy, man. I would spin that wheel.
Yeah, Tempest was awesome. The what was the wizard the
Mr.
wizard game?
Moore?
Yeah, no, not Wizards of War. The one that Wizards About to Die. God, I can't remember the name of that game.
Oh, Gauntlet.
No, not Gauntlet. Yeah, was it Gauntlet? Yeah, 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 Gauntlet. Yep.
Where you would, when then we go to the next stage, your character would spin in the little
Yep.
vortex.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
And I
Gauntlet.
loved it because it was multiplayer. So you could
Yeah.
play it with your friends, and it was kind of Dungeons and Dragony, and it was
If I lived there, we would have a gauntlet machine in my basement, and you, me, and Evan would and Forrest would be playing four-way gauntlet every night. You know that, don't you?
oh, that would be amazing. That would be
Oh,
amazing.
hey, Binky and his buddies, by the way. We should talk about that. You got to give DC credit. They dipped their toe into the digest world and they wanted some of that sweet, sweet Archie Comics digest grocery store money. And they stuck it out with their digest line. I mean, they lasted through early 1986 with these friggin' digests. This is near the end of the run where they seem to focus more on humor properties like Binky, Sugar and Spike reprints, Plop. They would have issues of Plop, even though it had
Really?
been canceled. Yeah, rather than just superheroes each month. This particular issue is packed with Binky and Scooter reprints, plus a few new stories that were left over in inventory when Scooter and the title A Date with Debbie were both canceled in the early 70s. They had plenty of stories left over. Not a lot of sales data on this, but Richard, a fine condition copy of Best of DC Digest number 45 sold on eBay in April for $18.50.
Wow. Wow.
You
Save
got
your pennies, everybody.
You've got those weirdo digest collectors. I know because I was one of them.
No, I mean, think about it. Digests are probably hard to get in decent condition since they were bought to be read and disposed of.
This one, the humor ones are tough. The Western ones, there were a couple of Jonah Hex ones. And there was a gothic romance one that reprinted some of those gothic romance comics from the 70s. That is a really tough book in grade. Those ones go for quite a bit. So keep your eye open if you see those little digests, especially if they're a humor related title. You pick them up, and flip them. As we move over to our flippin' underrated books of the week, Richard, I have a stack of these.
Do you really?
I do. You want to see them?
Yeah.
Come to the next live sale. I've been trying to get rid of them for months.
I picked for my underrated book. It's a repeat pick. It's Secret Wars #2 from the 2015 series. It's the first appearance of God Emperor Doom. Okay, I said Doom, so everybody do your drink.
Take a shot. Yes, thank you.
Doom is a key player in Secret Wars. He was a key player in the original Secret Wars. In this Secret Wars, though, he basically becomes omnipotent and finds out he doesn't really like it that much. But we're talking about the Secret Wars movie that's coming up. It's still on the slate for the MCU. So at some point in the future, when Disney and Marvel start making good movies again, hopefully we'll see Secret Wars, and it's going to most likely feature Doctor Doom as the key villain in the story. And I'm hoping by the time Secret Wars comes out, Fantastic Four will have come out and introduced Doom, so we don't have to deal with that in Secret Wars. So Doom will be an established character, and we'll be able to build upon that character during the Secret Wars story arc. So I think it's a good time to buy this. And like John says, hasn't been an expensive book. So if you're looking to buy it, now's the time to buy it. It's got these all the books in this series have this amazing Alex Ross covers. He really did a great job for the Secret Wars series. 9/8. I checked this morning. 9/8 are averaging $50 for a CGC graded book. So if you see a 9/8, grab it for $50. I definitely would pick it up, put it in my long box, hoping for an opportunity to flip it in the future.
If you want one for $50, hit me up any day. Do you know there's 3 printings of this book?
Yes. The other printings are I did not get the sales data or the value of the other printings. Some of the later printings of all of these books, they all have this gorgeous Alex Ross covers, but later printings, some of them are virgin. So if you're looking for a virgin cover, you may want to look at second prints, third prints for that.
Yeah, I've got a third print 9.8 slab. Anybody wants it, hit me up. As I stop trying to sell people books on our show and move over to my underrated book of the week, Chamber of Darkness #5. Ooh, spooky.
That is a pretty creepy cover.
Do you like that? That is Jack Kirby, inked by Bill Everett. I mean, my 2 faves together. Look at the detail on that face.
That is horrifying.
Bill Everett really just was a great inker on Jack. Marvel wanted some of that sweet, sweet Bronze Age horror success that DC was having with titles like House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Ghosts. So they tried. They had Chamber of Darkness, Tower of Shadows. They put their A-list talent on these books. You had Steranko, you had Kirby. Didn't quite take. They couldn't really make these titles work, which is sad. Jack is this is one of the last stories Jack did for Marvel before he went over to DC in 1970. Jack is also credited with scripting this 6-pager inside, and it's one of the few times that he would write and draw when he was at his original Marvel Comics run. The only other example that I can think of at the top of my head was the Inhumans series in Amazing Adventures. But this is a great book. It's a nice little Jack horror story, 6-pager. I won't spoil it for you. It was a very Twilight Zone ending. By the way, everybody that was ragging on us for making fun of the Twilight Zone in the comments last week, forgive me. I know it's a classic show. It is really slow, though, when you try to watch it in 2024. A CGC 9.8 last sold in April of 2022 for $336. I'd buy that for $336, wouldn't you?
That's a great cover. Yeah.
High grade raw. Sorry.
For a 9/8, that would be amazing.
Right? High grade raws tend to sell for about $25 on eBay. Tales to blast your brain. Chamber of Darkness, number 5. Don't leave home without it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another great week. We will see members on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see everybody else next Monday.
Everybody, stay safe.